Welcome to Let's Talk Church and Other Things. I am your host, Sharla, joined by my co-host, Corey and Miss Yolanda. What's going on?
Hello, how
Hey.
you doing?
It's been a while since you've been here, Mr. Corey. You've been on a
I was missing
semi-world
action,
tour.
yeah.
But just recently you went to New Orleans. How was your vacation?
Oh, really good. Really good. First time I would definitely go back. Good
Nice.
food. People was really nice in New Orleans. Really nice.
Wow. Nice. And Miss Yolanda, you had your family reunion over the weekend.
Yes, it was great. We had people come in from Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey. It was good. It was just really hot, really hot. So.
Nice. So our guest today is Mr. Terrence, aka Udi. How you doing, Udi?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I've known Udi since, people say before they were born. Before they were born. When he was born, I was right there. So Udi's been a part of my family and my life for a long time. So we're glad to have you here with us on today.
Thank you.
So we're going to get into this discussion, and thank you for agreeing to do this for us. Udi was raised Christian,
Yes.
and he's recently converted to Islam. Before we get into why you converted, tell us a little bit about being raised Christian.
So I was raised in TPF, Temple Prayer and Faith. Grandmother, bishop, uncles, pastors. Just grew up playing the drums. Loved every minute of it until I guess started getting older, finding my own way. But quickly just not too much of the. I don't think I was 100% committed in the learning of scriptures, but I loved the music aspect of church. And that's what kept me going and wanted me to be there. And I guess that's how you hook, kids into church. But I guess the overall of me coming up in church was good, and I think it was all good.
All
Like,
right.
Sorry if it's like a weird, kind of like a explanation of it, but yeah, I was there because that's my family thing. I grew up in church, so I was supposed to be there. But I did have and did understand good things from it, and I guess playing the drums kept me there.
Okay. And it's funny you said playing the drums kept you there, because I was going to ask, if you were not playing the drums, do you think once you reached a certain age you would have stayed?
No, I think my outside life was taking me away from church in general. I think that I was more involved in street life, getting away from church. I remember she Diane, you can't see Diane, but Diane's right there. She knows what we was involved in, and it was taking me away from church regardless. But I still kept the values and things of that nature. I mean, I might not have been a good Christian, but I definitely kept the values. And my mom wasn't really strict when it came to when I was younger, when she could say hey, you need to be here. That was one of the things. But it was also weird to me growing up. My mom was excommunicated for the church, so she was never in church with me. It was, hey, I'm dropping you off to your grandma. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? Y'all do your thing over there. And she found her own church. So I never really had my mom there to be like, hey, do this. And my dad wasn't. My dad, I guess he's an atheist, so he was never in church. But I don't think I would have stayed in church, no. But I did keep going. I'm not. That's a lie. I did keep going. As I got older, I was going to church with my mom when we went to what is the church in Olneyville?
Cathedral.
Yes.
I think it's King's Cathedral.
Yes, I did go. I think I just found my questions were a lot for pastors. The questions that I had, the things that I didn't understand, and the things that I was looking for out of church, I don't think that they had the answers for. And I think it was more or less like it got to the point where it was like I felt like I was being a burden on certain things. Like it's just like I enjoy the debate. Like I would debate my mom a lot, and it wasn't like I didn't believe. It was like I maintain this to this day. I believe in God, even when I was like in my journey. Like I believed in God. It was just like there's a lot of questions, and nobody has answers for these, and yeah. So that eventually made me like leave church in general.
Wow.
So were your questions more about the teaching, like the actual Christian faith in the foundations, or like what were the types of questions that you had that people were not able to adequately address for you?
All right, so that's like this is a two-part, right? So when I say the questions, it definitely about the faith, things in the Bible, the contradictions in the Bible, also. Because I grew up in Christianity, I seen the worst of it. So that's a big thing of why I left as well. You see, I've seen some real evil stuff and people that we regard. So it's like, for me, it's just, like one thing that opened my eyes is they don't teach you this in church, that every sin is equal. They pick and choose the things that they, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was never taught. I was never taught that in school. And when I opened my eyes, like when I started to like really dive deep, and it was like that pastor that ate that extra piece of chicken, ain't no different from somebody that killed somebody. Now, as humans, we look at it differently, but in the eyes of God, it's definitely not. So a lot of those things, those questions I was saying, it's more. Especially when you're younger, you're kind of like told to just stay the course. Then when you're older, they can't really tell you that no more. And then you rarely realize that they don't have those answers. And I'm not saying that's not all pastors. I'm not saying that all pastors are bad or bishops are bad or anything. I don't want to start this conversation off trying to bash any religion or just talking about my perspective.
I have a quick question. So are you getting your answers now from Islam?
Yeah. One of the big things is, and again, I never believed in the Holy Trinity. Okay. And I'll say this, right? My uncle used to get really mad at me. My uncle's a Muslim. Shout out to Sadiq. And at one point, I didn't believe in Jesus. Like, I was just like, it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense that God had all these prophets, and then he would just have a son out of nowhere. So I just, deductive reasoning would be, Jesus is not even real. But as a Muslim, you can't even believe in the Quran or even Islam without believing in Jesus. He's a major figure in the religion. Mm-hmm. They believe that he's not the son of God. They do believe he's the Messiah. Mm-hmm. They do believe he was born out of immaculate conception, things of that nature. The difference is that, like, he's not God's son, because God doesn't have any children. He's omnipotent. He's it doesn't. It aligned with the things that I was thinking about and how I felt about the scriptures and things of that nature. And that's what I was already on my journey of that, and learning more about what that belief is, and how, and even being wrong in some of the beliefs that I had towards Christianity. Mm-hmm. In the Muslim religion, Christians are coveted. They look at you as like cousins. Like in the Muslim faith, they believe like the Torah was first, then Christianity, and then the Quran. And they say that was the last word of God. They believe that the Torah was sent first by God, which is the Jews. Then Christianity was sent with Jesus, which is Isa. And then the Quran was sent. So it all just made perfect sense to me that we all say the same thing but have different ways of getting there. And this aligned with me, and it feels like the truth. It feels like it made me feel safe here. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that the religion in itself, and I want to make this really clear, I think that the religion itself is the truth. But just like any other religion, there's certain people that, you know, are not the best and use certain things for not the best things.
Yeah. So before we continue on regarding Islam, I got to go back to the Christianity for a minute.
Yep.
Because, so do you feel that if your questions would have been answered when, you know, during your time of being raised as a Christian and, you know, getting older but still going to church, do you feel that if those questions would have been addressed, and you would have got answers, that you would still be a Christian? Or do you still think that you probably would have converted over?
No, I don't think so, because the questions can't be answered by the questions that I have and what I was looking for. They can't be answered by Christianity. I believe I would have eventually, at some point in my life, maybe not now. Like, it took a lot for me to get here. You know, like, it took me stop doing the things that I was doing, like in the streets and doing all this stupid stuff. And I escaped the streets without any felonies, any going to the street and going to jail, right? I stopped doing what I was doing because my mom got sick, you know? So it took that, then it took me realizing who I am as a man, then it took me just heartbreak, loss, and then trying to find my way, right? I don't think Christianity, I love Christianity because my mom loved Christianity, right? I love that my mom was very much so like a Christian, and I love what it does for all the people that I love, you know? And I don't know any Muslim that will say bad things besides like, oh, we just don't believe it, right? You know what I'm saying? But I don't think it had the answers that I was looking for, and that's why it would have always sat wrong with me, you know. And I said something earlier about even the things that I was wrong about, right? One of my big things when I was younger and naive and things of that nature was, and this is a big topic between black people, is how we believe in something that was given to us by our slave masters, and I would run with that. Like that was like a big thing for me, especially coming into like when I was older. Like when I was younger, I got spit on and called the N-word. You know what I'm saying? And I was like really like, I don't hate white people at all. I have white family members, but it's like I was really on my pro-black and like really like I don't understand Christianity and how these people gave this to us to keep us enslaved and you know and put down. And I don't have that sentiment anymore about Christianity at all. Knowing that its real roots are not from them, you know. But growing up, that's what I thought. So I guess getting older and understanding Islam helped me understand Christianity more too. As well.
And so growing up believing that, did you ever express that to anyone for them to like sit down and say, listen, son?
Yeah. I mean, I have. I think I've been hurt a lot by Christianity too. Like, I mean, how much explaining do you get from adults at a young age, right? And I think my transition to doing what I was doing outside of church didn't allow me to. Like the last person that I really had conversations with, that I felt safe having conversations with when I was younger, was Uncle Teddy. You know, like I never got close to another pastor after that. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it wasn't like, and even the pastor, like I had an uncle tell me I was going to hell because I understood or believed that, not that I believed in other religions at the time, I understood that other people believe other things. Look me in the face, his own nephew, like look me in the face and was like, oh, you're going to hell.
That's just ignorance. That's
You know?
ignorance, because instead of sitting you down and, talking to you and getting your point of view, because you're entitled to your opinion.
For sure.
Certain things, there's no right or wrong. It's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is why people convert. People don't go to church because they just don't get, you get those kind of answers. Everything, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
For
You
sure.
know, oh, what? You're selling drugs? That's a sin. But you're married and
Exactly. And that's
creeping. And like you said, sin is sin.
Exactly.
Because I tell people all the time, show me in the Bible. Show me where one is greater than the other. Show me where yours is forgiven and mine isn't. Show me. And this is the thing, because I think sometime in Christianity, and I'm not bashing it at all because I'm Christian, I love God. But I think that they're not transparent at all. And as soon as someone walks in that isn't like them or doesn't look like them or doesn't act like them, instead of just embracing them, they find a million reasons why you don't belong.
For sure. And I feel like I'm in a weird space right now, too, because I've only been a Muslim since April. A few months, right? And I'm still learning a lot. Like I'm still using YouTube to help pray, right? To make my prayers. Like, I'll say my prayers and then my du'as at the end, like, I say them in English, and just, I say my prayers in Arabic and really try to learn them, and then I say my other prayers, like, really talk to God on my own, in English. And sometimes I feel like a guest right now, because I'm still learning a lot of stuff. But there was this one guy on the internet, and you dive into your own stuff, and this one guy, I'm very fair. If anybody knows me, I'm very hyper focused on being fair. Especially, like, I think life isn't fair, so humans should be fair to each other. Regardless of what it is. If I did something to you, you did something back to me, I accept it. I remember I was like 16 years old, I got stabbed. She was there. I wasn't upset I get stabbed. I did worse to people. So it was, I'm very, this guy, he basically was like, in Islam, if you're a woman, you wear your hijab. If you're a man, and you're doing something that's not of Islam, I have every right to come to you and be like, hey, brother, you need to get better on your deen and things of that nature. But that's supposed to be in private. This guy was on the internet, young woman, she's with her husband. She doesn't have a hijab on. Now, the hijab is a personal thing. It's a thing that a woman does for God, not for her husband, not for anybody else, but her relationship with God. He's like, where's your hijab? Where's your, brother, you're not going to get no faith with Allah doing that. You're not going to get no favor with him. Like, for me, I'm going to be fair regardless when it comes to anything. It's just like, for me, it was, even with Christianity, when I see somebody saying like, oh, you're going to hell for this, I know you. I know what you do. How can I? You know what I'm saying? So it's just, for me, it's learning how to take the good with the bad and the bad with good and understanding people. But when I was younger, I couldn't comprehend that. I really, it bothered me. It bothered me to the point where, like, I'm easily, like, I could write people off. And if that's a consistent trait in people that I see in that religion, I think that's probably why I wanted to get away from it too. Like, I seen a constant, the money, the people being greedy within the religion and this and that. It just didn't seem, and I seen the dedication. I seen the dedication that Muslims give, changing their lives, right? I see my uncles. All my uncles are drug dealers and all this. They get out of jail. I see my uncle. I'm not going back. And this faith helped him keep that, And I feel like one thing that I was looking for in my older age is discipline. Right? If you don't discipline yourself, you don't love yourself. And To be honest with you, I don't see any other religion more disciplined than Islam. That's just my opinion. So it aligned with me at this age.
So I happen to believe that. I mean, people believe what they can believe, right? I just have a rule. I don't argue about religion. I don't argue
sure.
about politics because
Right.
at the end of the day, people believe what they believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as it relates to not just Islam, but I mean Christianity, Islam, whatever religion it is that someone believes in, what do you think would have been more helpful? Not because again, you had questions and you didn't necessarily, believe in what was being taught, but for young people, because to me, the problem or challenge that I've seen is that the people who were trying to teach really didn't have a full grasp on what it was that they were trying to teach, right? And so I feel like if you really don't know it, how can you teach somebody it?
Yeah.
And they were taught based on what their parents and grandparents taught them who couldn't read, and some of them couldn't write, right? And they were told it, and so it was kind of passed down. Today, we don't even have that excuse because we can learn for ourselves. We can, again, ask the questions, right? So how can we do a better job, no matter what religion it is? How can we do a better job at teaching young people what we believe?
I'll say the first thing, and maybe adults forget this, that you can tell your kid whatever you want to tell them, right? But if your actions don't align with that, right, that goes out the window, right? The quickest way anybody has ever lost me was saying one thing and doing another. I'll hang on, like, if I really love you and I believe you, right, I'll hang on to every word you say, but as soon as I see you do the other thing, people are flawed, and I get that, you know? My mother, now I was just talking about this earlier, my mother used to tell me, like, I'll never tell you to do something that I wouldn't do. And I hold on to that to this day. You know, I tell that to my girlfriend's daughter. You know, like, hey, I love you, but I'll never tell you to do something that I wouldn't do. So you can trust me on that. You want me to do it first? You know? So I think that's the first building block to it. It's honor yourself first to make sure you're living by that so that other people, and especially the younger generation, can see, oh, this is honorable man. I just had a conversation about Killer Mike, who's a Christian. And when I look into Killer Mike's eyes when he's on the screen and what he's saying about being a Christian or being this, or, you know what I mean, he's a rapper. I believe everything he's saying. His conviction, the money that he puts behind it, what he's saying. I don't see that on a lot of people. I don't see that you're living the same way that you are talking. And I know it's hard. But for a kid growing up and with those two things, adults can understand that adults are flawed. But kids don't understand that. They can only see and hear what you're saying and make those quick distinctions.
So you've been a Muslim for 4 months, you said?
Yeah.
How long has your uncle been a Muslim?
I couldn't tell you that, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, did he recruit you? Did he?
No, he never. I begged my uncle to be a Muslim. It took him months, years. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like come with me. I think he was trying to get stronger on his deen before he felt comfortable taking me with him and holding me. Yo, I'm gonna say this, right? I took my Shahada. It was during Ramadan. It was like the tail end of Ramadan.
Okay, you have to explain that.
A Shahada is your declaration, basically saying, like, I believe in God and I believe in this religion. I believe that Muhammad is the last prophet sent by God himself. You know, Muhammad, peace be upon him. It's your declaration in front of the mosque, in front of everybody. You know, you say the words in front of everybody. It's basically getting baptized. Basically, you start at 100 now. That's your grade now. And it's up to you to keep up your, on your deen. I said my Shahada in front of the whole mosque during like the end of Ramadan. I look back, grown men crying. I stand up, they're hugging me. I never seen my uncle cry in my life, tears flowing, because in his brain I was going to hell. Not because I was a Christian at one point, none of that. It was because of my rhetoric towards Jesus, towards God in general, when I was in my space of not understanding. You know, he was scared for me. He was, you know what I mean? It was, and, you know, and he has his own things that he deals with and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? But this is what he maintains, you know, that God's real and we need to get our life together and you need to be on whatever vehicle that gets you there, to be on it. And this was the one that I wanted. And it wasn't like he was like coaching me to do that. It was, this is what I want. And I did my own research on the side. Yeah. All he did was, oh, you want some reading material? Here. It wasn't like, I need you to stay with me, be around me all the time. He wanted me to walk my own journey first. And when I was really ready and he seen that I was really serious about it, then he took me to the mom.
Okay. So your uncle seems to have been a big influence on, you know, you making this decision, even though it seemed like he wasn't encouraging you, but yet you were watching him. What was it about him that, I guess, I don't know if intrigued is the best word, but what was it about him that you saw about his life that you really started, you know, seriously considering making the move?
I seen who he is as a man. Like, I seen who he was, and he's a very honorable dude. Like, if he says he's gonna do something for you, he's gonna do it. It'll lie. My dad always told me I'm a lot like him. You know, and I just watched my uncle, and he's a very strong, stoic man, and he's just like, but also loving and caring at the same time, you know, and to see what it did for him, I admired, you know, like, and it's weird because, like, I had stopped eating pork, like 10 years ago. So when I eat around him or I eat around my other uncles and cousins that are Muslim, I'm not interrupting the flow of things. And then I just did my own research. My dad stopped eating pork when he got out of jail. Well, while he was in jail, you know. I'm gonna say this on here. The one person that my uncle was trying to convert is my dad.
So, did he?
No. He holds hope for that. So one day, hopefully.
What's the hardest thing you had to deal with switching over to Muslim? What's the hardest thing that?
All right, so I'll give you two. Right, right now. I'm in the space of like working out. I ask Allah, I'm like, yo, can you give me the strength? Like, I need to lose this weight, and I haven't been that great at making my prayers 5 prayers a day. Like, I have not, especially with working. I work at a weird time too.
Yep.
So, as a new Muslim, I'm trying to get 100% down pack and find a way to, you know, I need to talk to my mom and really dive and try to understand where I can, you know, figure out. Another thing, and this is a big thing, and I know you guys are gonna be like, wow, is listening to music is haram. And it makes sense and it doesn't make sense, right? And I'm still wrapping my head around it, and I think that a lot of Muslims struggle with this. It's haram because they feel like, and I don't know if this is directly in the Quran, I think that it's you know how people interpret, and it's haram because they feel like nothing should make you feel something other than God. And music can really destroy you. And I felt this way too. I've listened to 50 Cent made me rob people back in the day. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it can.
Don't blame it on 50.
No, I'm saying for real. Listening to 50 Cent back when I was younger, like I don't know why. You know what I mean? It just made me want to do bad things. Okay. You know what I mean? So I can see how it can be a thing. And wearing gold, Muslims don't wear gold. You're not supposed to be flashy.
So there's no music in the mosque. They call it a mosque, right?
Yeah, there's no music being played in the mosque. If anything, like there are melodies to saying prayers, like, you know, like they pitch their voice and things of that nature. But I've never heard like any music in in the mosque at all. The mosque is a very quiet place if they're not praying, you know. And it's a real, like, I remember, I'll tell this story. I called my uncle crying maybe like a month into being a Muslim. When I took my Shahada, I was scared to go back to the mosque. Not because I was trying my best to learn the prayers, and I didn't want to be a burden over there, not knowing, and my uncle's like, that's not what that's for. Like, you shouldn't feel that way. You should really go be around your brothers and really try to understand, and like, they'll guide you. And I felt ashamed. Like, why do I feel this way about going to a place so holy and so loving that people that when I took my Shahada, these same people hugged me and welcomed me and loved me, and then we went downstairs and ate together, you know. And I still have problems, I guess, like going to the mosque a little bit, and I'm learning. I'm doing better. Like, I'll go in the mosque and whenever I can, whenever I'm in Providence, and I have like this type of loyalty. Like, because I took my Shahada there, there's a mosque closer to my house. But I live in Woonsocket. There's a mosque closer to there. But I'll travel to Providence to go to the one over there, Classical. And if I get there before everybody's praying or whatever, like they pray, they kind of push the time for the prayer. I'll just put my headphones in and watch my YouTube video and pray that way, you know. But just to be around that atmosphere, like, I was having a bad day. And I'm sorry if I got off track to your original question. I was having a bad day. Things were not aligning with me this day. And I just sat in the mosque for like 2 hours. I did wudu. Wudu was the act of washing up. And I did my wudu. I just sat in the mosque and just, you know, greeted everybody that came in, had my little conversations with people, did my prayers while I was there. And it just turned my day around. It was just, for me, it was powerful for me.
So do you have a mentor or someone who?
My uncle. You know, like, my uncle will send me things. He's given me books, and I've given other people books. If somebody asked me about Islam, like, there's this book called The Elementary Teachings of Islam that my uncle gave me. It's like probably like this thick, and very small book, and it has like all the bullet points of Islam, things of that nature. And I just read that over and over, you know, and I give that out to anybody that needs it. You know, I keep the one that my uncle gave me because that's close to me, you know. But yeah, he's my mentor as far as like being, not in my personal life though, but outside of like religion, I don't have a mentor. Even like I literally just had this conversation, and I know it's not the same thing, but I don't have a mentor in photography. I don't have a mentor in real life. I don't have not everything's real life, but I don't have a mentor outside of religion, and those are the things that also kids are lacking. You know, so
I was going to say, I have to commend your dedication and passion to learning, because it seems like you're doing a lot of this on your own. Like, your mind was made up. This is what I'm going to do. This is the change I'm going to make. And you're so dedicated to that, which in Christianity, I think if we got more like that, like, you know, we grow up in church, you know, you grow up in church, and some of the stuff, like these little kids, they can mark everything the adults do in church.
Yeah.
So as they get older, it's like, do they really even know what it is to have a relationship with God? Because they just learned it as they were growing up. Where you're like, you know what? I'm interested in this religion. I'm going for it. I'm going to learn it. You're just like so dedicated. Like, I feel like I need to go home and
I bought a book.
Start reading, because it's like, you know, your dedication to it is like, and even the fact that, you know, I don't pray, you know, the 5 times a day. Well, how many times a day do we pray?
Yeah, that's a staple in Islam. That's one of the 5 pillars. I'll read the pillars off. I kind of one of the pillars is the prayer. Like, you have to, like, you really can't be a Muslim if you throw your prayers away. You know, it's the 5 pillars of Islam, the declaration of faith, which is a shahada, the prayers, the salah, it's the prayers, the giving back, zakat, and your fasting and your pilgrimage to Hajj. Every Muslim at some point in your life, you should take your pilgrimage to Hajj, and that's like the holy Mecca, the holy city. That was like I think it's the first mosque ever made. One day, you know, I hope to go. It's a beautiful place. It looks like a beautiful place from what I've seen. You know, so I just really been diving deep into it.
Have you been there? Oh, okay.
Yeah, everybody, brothers and sisters, they all, you know, they all go and pray together. And that's one thing about, like, it's weird because we live in a Western society, right? So there's different religions. Like, and when in Muslim dominant cities, when you hear the Adhan is a call to worship. I don't even know, like, yeah, it'll probably play on my phone in a minute. You know what I mean? It's a call to worship, right? You stop what you're doing, hit that mat. You prostrate, your face hits that mat. You got to let everything go in that moment, you know, and really pray. And I found so much solace in that. Mm-hmm. You know, even like, you know, my girl's Christian, and you know, I'm not in the space of like, oh, I want you to convert. No, that's not my place to, you know what I mean, to try to get her to do that or anything, right? She loves that I am a Muslim and respects everything I do, and I respect that she's a Christian, you know. And when I pray, she knows, like, don't cross in front of me. Please be quiet when I'm doing my thing. Her daughter knows the same thing. They all respect it. They all, hey, the house don't eat pork no more. Not that she my girl eat pork, but her daughter's like, I'm not gonna eat pork either. Oh. You know, and we all just respect each other, even, you know. And I always maintain, like, you know, Christians, Muslims, and Jews, man, we cousins, man. And it hurts that I see, like, a lot of division or anger towards each other. You know what I mean? I think we all believe in God himself. You know, I think that we have differences of opinions within the waters of it, but the moon is God, and we all in the water trying to figure out how to look up. You know?
Before I get into asking, like, you know, the reaction from family and friends,
yeah.
You had touched on something. I'm like, he's in my mind right now, because I was going to ask. So, you know, in Christian religion, it's like, two can't walk together except they agree. You cannot be unequally yoked. And so we were raised thinking that meant, well, you know, if I'm a Christian, I can't marry a Catholic. I don't know. Like, so, how is it in Islam? How do they feel about, you know, if you got to the point where I'm ready to get married?
Yeah, I think they would very much so want you to marry a Muslim woman. You know what I mean? I don't think that's but it's not uncommon. You know, it's not uncommon. I just watched a story of a woman. She was like an army vet. She became Muslim before her husband, and then her husband wasn't really, like, she left Christianity or Catholicism. Is that the word for Catholic?
Yep.
All right. I think she left being a Catholic and just went straight into Islam after being in the army, and then after a while, her husband started seeing her, you know, and became a Muslim as well. And then she let her kids decide on their own, you know. And I don't really know. I haven't talked to many Muslims about their struggles with, if, you know what I'm saying, being with somebody that's not Muslim. I have a couple of homies that are Muslim, and their girlfriends are not Muslim, you know. But my girl's reserved anyway, you know. She don't wear a hijab, but nobody sees her out here doing nothing. And I mean, she's in the house, she works, she's a very humble woman. So that's all I could ask from her. I'm not perfect, you know, and I'm not asking for perfect. I'm asking, you know. Right. So I don't think that Allah would look at me and say, you need to be a Muslim woman, because that's her path and this is my path, and if she becomes Muslim, thank God, right? If she doesn't, I still love her. And I would never push her towards that. Especially it's hard for her too. Her dad's a pastor. So I wouldn't yeah.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about my own second marriage, right, to a Muslim, right? And I was Christian. Ooh, but he too was raised as a Christian. His father was a pastor. So it is just like so like I'm thinking, yes, I remember that. But I think it just boils down to respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I said to him was if you feel like Islam makes you the man that you are and that's your way to God, okay, accept that, but accept that I'm a Christian, I believe what I believe in, and I don't see myself converting to Islam. And if you can accept that and respect each other, there should really be no reason.
And I'm not the spokesperson for this at all. I'm still new in my relationship. We a year and change in, and I'm still new to Islam. Like I don't know exactly what the technical or what really is supposed to be, right? I just know it's working for me right now. As far as like in my relationship, like, hey, this is what you believe in. This is what I believe in. I wholeheartedly respect what you believe in. We have had debates and we had talks, and she's very well versed, and she's Puerto Rican, so so she but she respects it and she tries to keep me strong on my deen. Like it's like she don't like me veering off from what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, you pray today? You make sure you you shouldn't be eating that. That might have So she tries to keep me on my toes for what I want to believe in and what my path is. So that's all I can ask for.
That's awesome. Something you said, because I remember,
And I'm sorry to interrupt
back
you.
in the day. But one thing I have to say, I have to respect that, back in the day on Tanner Street, everybody went to your mom's house to eat. And, they would even let your ex-husband, like, do the grace. And no, he's not going to say, oh, God, we thank you for this food we're about to eat. No, he said the grace in his own way. And they respected that. Now, some people, I'm sure they had a problem with it. Well, then get up from the table and go eat at your own house.
Yeah.
But this is Pastor Ricketts' house, and if this is what that's her son-in-law. And I looked at that like, wow, she doesn't judge him. She doesn't, feel any differently towards him. That's my daughter's husband. He's family. And yes, there's times when we're going to ask him to say the grace over the food. And if you don't like it, don't eat.
The character of the man means most to me. Like most of the time I don't care what nobody believes, as long as you're a good person, right? And people have people have their ways of getting to where they go to, but in your heart, if you're a good person, that'll always shine more than anything. Even if you say you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, all this, you being a good person shines over anything, because what you give out, you get back. And that's one thing that I try to maintain too. Like I try my best to uphold whatever my mom as a person was, and being that and giving, and I give a lot to people, and I don't ever say anything about it, because that's what she used to do, and I try to uphold that and be the best version of that I could be while maintaining who I am, because I'm damn sure not gonna get like rolled over in any sense,
Right.
Now, in a mosque, do you have to belong to one mosque? Like someone, like a Christian, like I belong to Mount Zion, or I belong to this church or that church. Can you go to any mosque, or you belong to a certain mosque? How's that work?
A mosque is a home for anybody.
So you can go to any mosque?
Yeah. People genuinely probably stick to wherever they go, but it's not like that now.
Is there different races in the mosque?
Yeah, for sure.
People.
Yeah,
Muslim?
I'll say this though. There is a little divide a little bit, because there's people that speak Arabic in there, and they kind of sometimes stick to themselves. But I think that's just tribal, right? I don't think it has to do with like anything racist or anything of that nature. Because I seen a lot of Muslims maintain like we Muslim first, But yeah, there's different races, African, Arabic people, and just different. The mosque that I went to, is African people from Africa.
Yeah.
The black brothers.
Yep.
And
Well, most Africans I know, I got a few African buddies. They're all Muslim. I was just wondering if there was any Spanish people there, white
Yeah.
people that was Muslim.
I seen some Asian dudes there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. Spanish dudes, Asian, a lot of them. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you know how we have like service
Mhm.
Sunday, our designated days for Bible study and service. Do they do that or?
Yeah. I don't know if it's 1-to-1 ratio of this, but Juma it's Fridays.
Oh, okay.
Usually at 1:00. I'm very excited because I have to do a wedding this Friday, but I have a little time in the morning. It's gonna be my first time going, so I'm really excited for that.
You mean do a wedding? What do you do at a wedding?
I'm a photographer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm sorry I didn't explain that. Yeah, I'm a photographer. I'm also learning. I'm also trying to. That's gonna be a big shift for me too, because some of the content that I've done, half naked women and things of that nature, right? So I'm like trying to tailor off from that a little bit, because I stopped. I pretty much stopped the drinking, and we were going back to the church thing. But yeah, I'm sorry. I got ADHD. I be all over the place. But yeah, church service. Yeah. It's basically a Juma. Yeah.
On a Friday.
Fridays. Yeah, and I couldn't make it because it's like literally what time I work. I go to work for like 11, so like they should be letting me out for I guess like religious reasons, but I don't be trying to rock the boat too much.
But 1:00 is such an odd time.
I don't know what significance it is. A lot of stuff in Islam has to do with the sun, and even the prayers, they're all according to the sun. So I don't have the information on why it's at 1:00. And you put your good fit on. A lot of Muslims dress up, and we're all together in there. But I'm excited.
So you made the change.
I did.
And what did the preaching family have to say?
I think it's not people that are directly related to me, right? People that are directly related to me and really like know me, like for one, you're not really gonna be able to say whatever you want to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then two, like I think that the people that know me and I grew up around me are very respectful to some of the things, but it's been other Christians that I've had conversations with. It's very anger filled a little bit sometimes, and oh, you're wrong. You don't. Yeah, how can you convert and this and that? And I'm just like,
But it's your life. You can do what you want.
yeah, and it almost solidifies my me converting. It's almost like
You're the reason why. You're the reason. You're the exact reason why.
it almost solidifies my reasoning for it, and like not my whole reasoning, but I feel welcomed here, and I feel wanted, and I feel loved. I think there's a real resurgence, and not resurgence. I don't know if resurgence is the right word, but a lot of people are converting to Islam. A lot of people don't. From what I'm seeing, Islam is a very conservative religion, in a sense, and the way that the world's moving, a lot of people are seeing that that's the way to go, and I don't think that's my reason for I don't think that's my reason for converting, but going back to what you said, yeah, I just had a couple of run-ins with Christians and having these conversations, but the people that love me, and that's all I can hope for.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? But I've definitely had a couple of people like really try to challenge my belief, and I'm just like, okay, like you don't like. For me, it's like so simple. You don't have to talk to me.
And my thing is this: so you haven't seen me in church. You didn't come seeking me out either.
Exactly. Exactly. I can count on my hand-sized family members that came to see my mom when she was sick. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like my mom used to really, when she was in church, like really, really try to help. So for me, it's just like I'm very much so like no nonsense. You can't come to me and say, . And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people try to play the elder card too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that people t I think that at some point that elder card goes out the window when I'm 32 years old. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a 401k. You know what I'm saying? I'll listen, but there's a fine line. But like I said, I have had some not really nasty conversations, but really trying to drill me on why I converted. And it's not comfortable. It's not a comfortable situation because you're trying to respect them, and you're also trying not to get out of line as well, because you do love that they're Christian. I have no issue with you, but it seems like you have an issue with So even with my girl, I try not to, when we have our little small spirited debates, I try not to like get into the realm of, because I love the debate. She tells me I always want to be right, you know. I try not to poke at the wrongs in Christianity or even in Islam, because I don't want it to be that, and I don't want to disrespect anybody's choice in what they believe, unless you're an atheist or a devil believer. You know, like them people. I'll say what I want about y'all.
Right. Wow. So we're going to get ready to wrap this up. Thank you so much for agreeing to come in and talk with us. And before we wrap it up, does anyone have a final question that they want to ask?
Was there just a defining moment, like one moment that you can, that was it? This is it. This is the moment that you knew that you were going to convert and become a Muslim.
No, I don't think so. I think that it was a gradual thing for me. And just learning more, it aligned with me. I don't think it was like, this is it. I remember when Mom died, though, and I felt bad about this, and I'll give this tidbit. I was in my mom's room after she died, cursing God. Like, we was at war in that room. I'm in the dark crying, you know, and I'm so glad that I found my way back to God himself. You know, I don't, regardless of what religion it is, I'm glad that I found my way back to trying to, I was comfortable. I was like, yeah, I'm going to hell, whatever. We good. You know what I'm saying? Hell is hot. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm not perfect, but there's no defining moment, but I'm glad I'm back. So even though it isn't Christianity, I'm glad I'm back on the path of believing and staying strong in my faith in God.
Good. Well, again, thank you so much for agreeing to come and share your story with us. Before we sign off, Udi, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me at I don't want to give my personal Instagram,
no. Okay.
but Shop by Udi, SHOTBYOODIE on Instagram. Yeah. If you want some photos, you need something done, call at me.
Yeah, definitely check him out. He takes nice photos.
Thank you.
Miss Yolanda, where can we find you?
Yolanda Madian King, on Facebook, and I'm Yuli Cakes everywhere else.
And she bakes cakes if anyone needs some cakes and cupcakes and cookies and all that stuff. Mr. Corey, when you're in town.
CLJ 208. That's where I'm at on all platforms.
And you can find me, Sherla White, on Facebook, MS_Sherla on Insta. You can find all episodes on our YouTube channel, Let's Talk Church and Other Things. If you would like to drop us a line, you'd like to be a part of the podcast, if you'd like to just give us your opinion, your thoughts, you can send us an email at ltc.otpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, and we would love to hear from you. So drop us a comment, send us a message, let us know how we're doing. Until next time, peace and blessings.